Hello and welcome, members of the Wonderverse. I'm Hannah, and you're listening to episode 10 of Into the Wonderverse, your one and only Scarlet Witch podcast. I'm here with
Juicer Nick.
And let's get into it. So we haven't really had a lot of news this week. I'm going to start out by saying, but I did hit 10k. So
you did hit 10k.
I want to say a huge thank you to every single person.
Thank you to everyone who joined in on the live.
Yes, thank you. You made it such an amazing experience for me. You all mean the world to me. Thank you for your kind messages, to reaching out to me on every platform. We could not do this without you guys. And thank you for all the support on the podcast.
Yeah, honestly.
And thank you for supporting Nick's 3 TikToks. We really appreciate that.
I'm up to 6 now.
Woo! He doesn't really post about Marvel yet, but if you give him encouragement, I promise there'll be more content. We don't really have a lot of news to go over this week, just mostly because a lot of the news has just been rumor and speculation. I am not going to go into every single rumor about where Wanda might appear next, what's going to happen. We're going to focus on Agatha All Along while it's airing, and then we'll go back into normal content as we go along. Next week, I will have a summary of a character, we'll go over a comic like we did before, but because we have 2 episodes to get through this week, that's going to be the bulk of the episode. Yep. However, we do have a Wanda Song of the Week, and it was sent in to us by one of you. Cole Runnington over on Instagram said that he would like to see Witch by Devon Cole as the Song of the Week, and now we are up to 10 songs. I will, of course, be posting that playlist that I promised on Spotify. So if you would like your song to be included next week, please reach out to me either on Instagram or on TikTok, or you can send it to our text me function at the top of the podcast.
Yeah.
So we're going to start by talking about episode 4, and then we're going to talk about episode 5 because we missed last week because I was busy hitting 10k. Sorry about that. Just a humble brag. Okay, so episode 4 was obviously Alice's trial, and that was my favorite episode so far. Still is. Well, first thoughts, Nick?
Yeah, no, I think I said this over on the 10k live stream, that I thought it was my favorite episode of the ones that we've had so far. It felt the most rounded in terms of theme. It was really cool to see the monster as well, that Alice's
the practical effects are just really cool. Absolutely killing it. I am so glad. I saw Jack Schaefer being interviewed about how at first they were just kind of testing it out, and then Kevin Feige gave the go ahead for them to just use completely practical effects, and obviously the magic isn't practical,
no.
The actual CGI magic, but I think that it means that looks less fake because the entire rest of the world around it is so real looking.
Yeah, the whole episode, the practicality of them in this studio setting was really, really cool. It was
you could tell designed. The fire was really there when putting fire behind Patti LuPone is a really she was such a treasure in this episode as well. I love all of the Easter eggs that we're getting through these episodes. I think there's going to be so much to go back and pick through once we've kind of finished the season. Every time I do a rewatch of an episode, I see something that I didn't see before. We're not going to talk about it yet, but when I just watched episode 5, I was like, I didn't see that when we were going around the treehouse type situation. I also think that episode 4 felt the trial made a lot of sense. The road changes for the Coven to make Coven share blessings and burdens alike, to give everybody Alice's curse so viscerally, felt like a really clear way of theming. And, obviously the song is goofy. I like that the show is not shying away from being camp. It's a very camp show. And I like that for it. It takes itself seriously, but also it's a very unserious show, and that is perfect. And I love how seriously, though, they're taking Agatha and Rio's relationship.
Yeah, the kind of the revelation at the end was because we got this really nice moment between Teen and Agatha, which, if you didn't know about Smith's toys, it would be deemed as, this is certainly peppering in what we think is actually kind of the truth. And then Rio's revelation kind of shatters that in a really, really effective way. The scene between those two. I just want more scenes between Catherine Hahn and Aubrey Plaza, really. I mean,
my one complaint remains the shortness of the episode. I wish we could get a 45-minute, at least standardized episode down. episode 4 was, I think, our longest episode since episode 1 or 2.
Yeah, 1 or 2.
And I just do want more time with these characters. And I'm so aware this is a limited series. Like, there is no chance of a season 2. We are not coming back. And so I want to spend as much time as possible on the road, and I feel like I'm still not quite being given that opportunity. Definitely more, and I definitely think that episode 4 had it more down, because we had a bit before, a bit during the task, and a bit after, which is kind of how I feel like every episode should go. And I think we just have time to meander more. I feel like we're marching down the road, and I really think that, like, I've fallen in love with every single one of these witches.
The show hasn't really had a time to kind of just sit and breathe a little bit. It does. I mean, certainly now that we're on to episode 5 in a minute, with us talking about it, but like, we're already over halfway here, and it doesn't feel as though we've managed to kind of sit our way into the show and kind of get used to what the characters' dynamics are and get used to their characters in a way that I feel that they deserve. I think length has a lot to do with it. I think if there was this standardized length, you know, even if it was an extra 5 minutes or 3 minutes per episode, like, you can kind of get in a little bit more in there in terms of interaction.
I think we really saw that in episode 4 when you had the little campfire moment. I love the nod to the Daughters of Liberty. If you don't know, Agatha spent some time in the comics in the Daughters of Liberty in the Second World War, and then she joined them again when she was came back alive, like the 4th or 5th time. I can't remember which resurrection that was, Queen. But I loved seeing this kind of the sisterhood forming, because I think that's important, that we see them start to become a real coven before. It's my complaint with a lot of projects. We don't see MCU teams bond before they want to disrupt the narrative and break them apart a little bit. I feel like the show is only 9 episodes, which is better than 6. Don't get me wrong, I'm glad it's not 6. But I would love to have seen this be 10 episodes, because I think we know episode 6 is going to be a flashback moment. This is Teen's episode, it's going to be his flashback moment. And so that's going to take up episode 6. And then Lilia's trial will be episode 7. And then we've got episode 8. And then we're 9, then we're done. If that's crazy, it feels crazy that, and we know that there's all these Salem flashbacks to come as well. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I was hoping for a whole episode that was just Salem flashbacks. And so I feel like if we had 10, then we'd have space to do Salem flashbacks as well. I just love all these characters so much. It's literally not anything I dislike about the show. It's just that I want more of the show, I think.
There was something one of the podcasts I listened to was talking about how the difference between kind of television, well, let's say back in like the 90s and early 2000s and TV now, is that especially when it comes to like sci-fi and fantasy and these kind of shows, there used to be Monster of the Week episodes. So it used to be the characters who just literally, there would just be an episode where there was nothing to do with an overarching plot. It was just, oh look, here is a random character guest of the week that turns into a monster, and we as a group have to kind of defeat that monster. And I felt like even if we got just one episode of them like on the road, but not in, you know, doing a trial, but dealing with something on the road that isn't to do with the trial, but is to do with the road, like it fleshes out not only the road a bit more, but also it gives a chance to these characters to flesh out and gives them a chance to kind of see what their power set is like without their powers, as it were. I feel like the trials are doing these things quite in a really kind of concise way, but it's not feeling as though it's fleshed out. And you know, I've said this on previous episodes, like we are missing this whole era of, you know, 23 45-minute long episodes. You know, we are missing that era where there was this chance, you know, Monster of the Week episodes, you know, bring them back.
I do think this show could have been 12 episodes. I don't know about 24 for this show specifically, but I think that what was demonstrated, we're going to talk about both of these episodes together because it's much easier to talk about them as a coherent thing. I think that the Salem 7 attacking them on the road could have been a whole episode. Yep. And learning the rules of what you can and cannot do on the road would have been so interesting. I saw Jack Schaefer talking in an interview about how she spent time up at night figuring out the limitations of the road. Lore is her favorite thing to work with. And I wish that she was being given time to work with it, because I feel like learning that because Teen was like, oh, why aren't we just flying the whole time? Why are we walking? And then the road brought them down. And I'm like, that's such an interesting limitation to discuss. Like, we saw them sleeping. How are they eating on the road? Yep. Like, I keep wondering, I mean, the age-old question, where are they peeing? Are they peeing? Because you can't step off the road, so are they just squatting on the road and peeing? We're gonna get NSQ rated now for
thanks for that.
the peeing on the road. But I want to see. I just love them. Like honestly, like I love Alice. I was so gutted to see her. Well, okay.
So we're gonna go to episode 5 now, proper. Like, because I think like we can talk about 5, but in the context of we're also reviewing episode 4 as well.
Okay, we're just gonna go with the flow, everyone. Yeah. Gloves are off. I just think. Right, so I'm just going to go straight in with my theory.
Here we go. Anna's delusion corner.
This is rude. I do not think that was Agatha's trial, or we did not see it the way it will actually be. Because right before all the action happens, Lilia wakes up and then Rio says, "Tell them what you saw." And she explains that she saw the Salem 7. But I wonder if she is telling them the vision that she saw for the first time, or is it Teen's trial? And here's why I think this, right? I'm literally like you can't see.
She's in my face.
I'm like got my little gremlin hands out because I'm so excited to say this. Above the doorway coming into the trial, right? You've got an East View and West View little flags.
Yep.
Why would Agatha have that in her trial? Also, they say, right, that this trial is the blood moon because it's the closest between life and death. Who just came back from the dead? Whose soul was put into a different body? That's right. It was Billy's. This is Billy's trial. Also, he can use his magic for the first time, and the sigil isn't working. Also, the trial didn't require Agatha to do everything.
Sigil is... We don't know if the sigil's not working, though. Because his name's not said.
Yeah, but Agatha knows who he is.
Yeah, but she doesn't say his name. And the sigil, like, what was the rule about the sigil? Like,
it only breaks once it's no longer needed.
Yeah, so... Maybe... maybe next episode we see an element of the sigil being broken. But...
Everyone on Twitter thinks Billy is some big bad. I'm going to dispel that for you. They're not going to do that Billy is a big bad. It's not going to be the way the series goes. Like this, Billy is kind of like a Parthenon of good in the comics. He's not going to be like evil.
I mean, on that note, my question is, they're making Agatha almost irredeemable in her actions at times, and it's a testament to Catherine Hahn as an actress and the way she really is like embodying this character. But it's like, this is the hero of our story, and she's not really that sympathetic as a character, shall I say. She steals Alice's powers.
I just think you're not lesbian enough to get it.
No, I don't think I am.
Because like, she was so sympathetic in this episode when she was like, it was all a defense mechanism so clearly. My second theory, right, is, I said this on TikTok, but I think that they're taking Thanos and Lady Death's relationship for the comics and putting it on Agatha and Rio. So in the comics, if you don't know, Lady Death first visits Thanos when he's really young and gets him to fall in love with her and convinces him that the only thing that he's good at is killing, and that's got his mission for the rest of his life. I think that Agatha can't fully control her powers, and that Rio convinced her that the best thing about her is that she kills and like it's cool to kill. And I think that they're going to do that relationship through Agatha and Rio. I don't think that Agatha completely can't control her powers, but I think that because she's completely powerless, I think when Alice's power started to come to her, she wouldn't be able to stop powering up, you know? But I just think that there's so much vulnerability that we saw with her mother. It was a flashback to the WandaVision moment where it was like, I can be good. Also, her mother saying you were evil since you were born. Trauma.
What was the deal with Rio saying that she doesn't like ghosts? What's the deal with that?
Well, she can't collect the soul because they continue to stay on the earth. She's like Also, I want to say something, okay? So many of you argued with me about Billy. You argued and you argued, and then when it came out that it was true, I didn't see one apology in the comments. Nobody apologized. Nobody said, Hannah, you were right. And I'm just letting you all know. I see you.
I got on my knees and groveled to Hannah and I begged for forgiveness.
Exactly.
It happened.
As you should. And when I get my Scarlet Witch solo movie, the Delulu...
Just your own Scarlet Witch solo
This is my achievement!
Yeah, you are Krennic.
I am Krennic with the Scarlet Witch solo movie.
Yeah.
Okay, also it's time for a segment. Do you like segments?
Let's bring on a segment.
Wonder Watch.
Okay, that was a shaking of the bottle, if that's not very clear on a mic.
I haven't been able to go to the music library. I've been ill. Okay? So I was going to do this.
That was right in my face.
Yeah, that was the point.
Thank you.
It was planned. So,
Wonder
Watch. In episode 4, we see on the CD... Well, the record, sorry. This is the record, sorry. I'm a millennial. I'm a millennial.
You get the boomers after you.
And the Gen Z, they love a record.
They do love the records, yeah.
It says The Red-Haired Woman is one of the songs.
Didn't see that.
It's because you're not looking for wonder. You're not experiencing wonder. And then, obviously, in episode 5, we have You're So Like Your Mother. And it's her son. I'm counting that as a Wonder reference.
Yeah, I mean, and also The Crown is very, very similar to Wonder.
I love The Crown redesign. I'm so glad he's not in that little rubbish, like, gold circlet from the comics. I'm sorry, Wiccan fans. I never liked it. I think The Crown is gorgeous. I saw the costume designer talking about how they put it together. I know the replicas are coming. I can't wait to see you all cosplaying him. Like, pop off. They're going to be amazing.
Are you going to get a Wiccan crown from the MCU to add to kind of like?
No, I'm not going to add. I'm not going to add Wiccan to my collection. I only have a budget of a certain amount of money, and it's going on Wonder and then some Agatha, like cute little Agatha shelf. But I'm not picking up everything.
No, just curious.
No, I like, you know, he's Wanda's son, but I haven't added anything Pietro to my collection. You know, if I was gonna spread out into Wanda's family, I think I'd go.
I mean, I am just seeing a distinct lack of a certain android as well.
Yes, we sell Vision in this house. You know, I wouldn't sell Wonder Man.
No.
Or Jericho, but they didn't abandon Wanda's kids when she needed them most, so. Or refuse to get their memory back. So, you know, there's I have some beefs with certain husbands, certain deadbeat fathers. So, in terms of it not being Agatha's trial, I did notice on Twitter, somebody had a really good theory, and I'm sorry, I don't know who it was. Credit to you, that the road changes colour depending on whose task it's going to be. And it was purple before they went into Agatha's trial, and it is yellow. The road is now yellow, which is Lilia's colour. Yeah. So I think that is a sign that it's Agatha's trial. But again, it's all about perception. There was just something wrong with that trial.
And speaking about the trial a little bit in terms of the homage, it's clearly referencing 80s horror movies. The way the costuming is giving off proper Friday the 13th vibes. Camp Crystal Lake. The possession of Agatha, very reminiscent of the Deadites in Evil Dead. Also the fact that it takes place in a cabin in the woods. Sam Raimi's Evil Dead. And also the way that Agatha kind of walks around and does her movement when she's possessed is very reminiscent of Linda Blair in The Exorcist. So it's kind of that episode was really kind of leaning into those tropes. With the kind of 80s and 70s and 80s horror, Bollywood horror tropes.
Mm-hmm. I just do think that, you know, I think there's going to be something clever, something that comes back round with this trial that tells us that everything is not entirely as it appears. I also don't believe that they were they broke all the rules during and I think that's why they all went so off kilter, because even though Jen doesn't love Agatha, there was no actual task there. The task is always about the person. And Agatha didn't perform any task or skill. Well,
your theory was that each trial preys on the fears of the particular person they're trialing. And this one, if it's teens, it's mainly focusing on stereotypes of witches and the fact that witches are evil. And therein, you know, the fact that at one point all the witches in the coven are acting evil and out of character. There's the, you know, Rio saying she'll slit Agatha's throat, was it?
When she's just...
which is not in character for Rio.
And especially not Lilia. Lilia's been so kind of mild-mannered and kind of sweet. And I do think that it was... Thank you for reminding me of my own theory, by the way. I totally forgot that part of my theory. I do think that it's a very strong idea that it did. And at the end, Teen says, this is what being a witch is about. Because my theory, obviously, is that he saw in the comics, one of Teen's worst fears is to have a breakdown like the Scarlet Witch. And all he knows about Wanda from the media is what's been reported on Westview.
Yep.
And that is that she was the Wicked Witch and that Agatha was the hero of the day because she was the witch that came up and stopped Wanda, as far as everybody in Westview knows.
Yeah.
They didn't know it was Agatha all along.
They did not know that it was Agatha all along. They didn't hear the theme song.
No, poor them. They missed out. But so I think he sought out Agatha looking for an alternative path to witchcraft. Because if they're going to do anything from the comics, they might do the fact that the first time he ever uses his powers, he almost offed somebody.
He's nearly offed 3 people at this point. Also, where's Rio at that moment as well?
Collecting Alice's soul, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
I had to say this 5 times, so not just to you. Everybody keeps asking me this, and
I keep forgetting.
She's deaf. Well, I think that she doesn't have a choice.
There was that interesting moment, wasn't it, where the Ouija board spells out death, and I was waiting for the cut to Rio, and she laughed in that, you're really not kind of way. I think Aubrey Plaza's you're seeing these kind of wide shots when certain things are happening in the cabin and all the things kind of the shit's hitting the fan, and everyone else is kind of panicking, and Rio is just arms up, loving life, really reveling in the antics, and it adds to the feeling that something's not right with her and that she's not the regular witch. Obviously, we know that because of Smith's toys that she's somebody else.
Smithsgate. But I can't believe that it's Smithsgate. Of all the places, I keep seeing people being Funko ruined it. Funko didn't do anything. It was Smith's toy.
We're going to be referencing this.
We're never ever getting a Smith's.
Hey guys, do you remember that time with Smith's Toys leaked Agatha Harkness?
Yeah, Smithsgate will on this podcast specifically be infamous forever, and we will never ever ever get a Smith's Toys sponsorship. Yeah. But yeah, I do think there's so much going on in the background. And obviously, next week is a flashback episode. We know this from kind of promos. Interestingly enough, there are clips of Alice in the trailers that have not yet been
I got a theory. I don't think anybody who's dead is actually dead. Okay. I think they are going to be back at some point. I think it's the trials, and you die. You can die during them, but you're not actually kind of dead. I believe it's like a stasis kind of thing.
I think they are dead.
Okay.
From what Jack Schaefer said, she wanted to show that the road was dangerous, that people do die. I think Alice.
Can you nudge him so he stops snoring, please? Peach, please.
I'm nudging him right now.
Can you wake him up?
Okay. Baby Miko.
He might honk if she pets him is the problem.
Baby Miko. Oh, look at him. Look at his little face.
Okay, go back to the podcast. Back to the podcast.
Peach.
Yes, starring Miko.
Okay.
I do think they're dead.
Evidence, please. Back it up.
Jack Schaefer in an interview was we wanted to show how dangerous the road was. We wanted to show that it wasn't a joke, that people do die on the road. I think Alice is a separate question because, see, I think that if one be gone, we carry on spirits as our guide.
Mm-hmm.
I think that her spirit might be back.
Yeah. Good shout.
I think, or this trial was never real.
Another shout.
I do think that. My other thing is I saw somebody heartbreakingly saying on Twitter, what if Lorna came back to guide her to the afterlife? Because sometimes death takes a comforting form in the comics when it's taking a true hero to the afterlife. And I feel like we didn't cast a Lorna Wu just for her to appear in one flashback.
No. Does something, yeah. Something doesn't seem quite right there, does it?
I also really hope that we're going to get a Patti LuPone version of the Witch's Road. Obviously, they have to get back to the road. They've been chucked off the road, allegedly. And there is that footage of Jen crawling her way up out of the dirt in Westview, which I originally thought was going to be her escaping the road, but I now think might be Teen
chucking
her off the road. I'm hoping that we might get a Patti LuPone solo to get back onto the road. Obviously, we know they're in other trials. We know they get back to the road somehow. Whether that be that we see that Agatha's covered in mud, just her and Teen by themselves. Whether Agatha is just like, oh no, I'm not staying in the mud.
Yeah.
Or whether or not they all go back together. But we'll have to see. I'm just so curious about, how we're going to get back to the road. And I hope it involves Patti LuPone singing.
What do you think the style of her song's going to be?
Oh, like a big, Broadway number. Because why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I think if you've got Patti LuPone, they've had her play she's a world famous piano player, and they had her play the triangle.
Yeah.
When she was like, "Are you on piano?" And she's like, "No, I play tiny percussion."
Yeah, tiny percussion. Yeah.
I just feel like there must be obviously she's been incredible in the role, but also I just wonder why you would do it and have her sing but not have her sing. I wonder if we're gonna have a teen version. He does like a pop version, raps the road.
Okay. Do kids rap nowadays?
I don't know. They're telling me he's 16 when he looks like.
Oh, he clearly comes from the school of Tobey Maguire school of high school kids.
I know he's actually quite young, but I don't know. I work with actual young kids, so I now know what they look like.
It's Hollywood version of a sort of a 16-year-old looks like.
I know in the eyeliner, I'm like, you're of drinking age. Every young Avenger except probably Miss Marvel looks like they're doing shots. I guess America looked quite young.
America was young, actually, to be fair.
But it's been so long now that by the time we get to Young Avengers, they're all going to be the same age that they were, the actual Avengers were when they started out.
Do you think Scar does shots?
Shot.
Do you reckon he does shots?
Yeah.
You reckon?
Scar, as in the
Hulkling.
Yeah. Well, that's not Hulkling.
It's not Hulkling.
That's two different.
It's two different people.
Yeah, I actually hope that they're not going to take Hulkling's role with Scar because, that's a whole other character with and people will get really mad if they do that because Wiccan and Hulkling are the it moment.
Yeah.
I've seen them talking already. Nobody cared because I think because of the Smiths toy reveal, they did not care about spoilers on Instagram this week. They were straight in with it. There was no 24 hours wait time to everyone see the episode. They were straight on there yes, let's talk about Wiccan. I guess because they knew the reveal was out there already. Everybody's been sitting I wonder if they're going to talk about that reveal coming out in a few weeks. I'm curious. They never acknowledged the WandaVision leaks, so
no,
probably not. But I saw that they'd already talking about how he has multiple costumes to come, as in a full. This wasn't his full hero costume reveal. Yeah. I was surprised how early it came, but then someone pointed out that we found out that Wanda was controlling the Hex so early on in WandaVision. Remember when she made the credits roll on her and Vision?
That's true.
And so I was like, oh yeah, this is our mid-season reveal.
Mid-season reveal.
I am curious how relevant the Salem 7 are going to be. In general. I wonder if they're a huge misdirect.
Their design is really cool.
I know, them hiring people that are actually contortionists to crawl about on the floor.
Yeah.
It's top quality entertainment.
Yep.
I am terrified of them. I don't like it when they get close. I'm it gives me crap vibes.
It reminds me of, is a cut for you lot. It reminds me of a moment in the John Carpenter movie In the Mouth of Madness, where female lead crawls out of the car, and she's played by a contortionist at this point, and is just the creepiest thing you have ever seen. And Sam Neill's face is one of absolute horror and disgust because he was in love with this woman. And it kind of, they said, the contortionist thing, if you're going to do it, you've got to do it real.
Well, I love it. I think that I can see how in another show this could have been CGI.
Yeah.
And also, I saw on Twitter that they made a miniature of the Witch's Road. So every time we're doing the overshot, it's miniature. I love miniatures. I want to take home the little Witch's Road. I want it in my pocket. That's my dream piece of merch now. I want to take home.
Do you remember when I was a kid, especially, we had Thunderbird's Tracy Island?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you want that version of the Witch's Road? I would love
Witch's Road. I kind of hope we're not going to get it. See, they weren't sure how successful Agatha All Along was going to be, so they haven't gone mad with the product tie-ins. And it makes me so sad because I would have loved I never buy Lego. Yeah, they don't have the space for it. and it's so expensive.
And it's a whole other thing.
But I would have bought a Witch's Road out of Lego, and I haven't bought any. I only buy the minifigures, and I don't buy them, and they're usually fake.
Yeah.
Somebody said to me, Lego is not a knockoff on one of my videos the other day, and I was like, it is when it's mine. I only have I've only got like the keyring that I bought officially from Lego, and then everything else I got secondhand.
Did they not release a Scarlet Witch? Was she not in a Lego set?
She's been in a couple of them. I have some of them, but a lot of these are just repros.
Yeah.
That's the keyring. Official.
Yeah.
We're sitting for once next to my entire collection, so we're just kind of staring at it right now. I'm looking for the real ones among the imposters. Most of the real ones are on that shelf though. Yeah, I would love to, like, honestly, I just want more Agatha merch, but in a kind of like, again, I really want these product tie-ins because I love the official merch, right? But I also love like the makeup. I want to just steal cardboard is kind of what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I want it to be in stores so that I can rob the cardboard.
Yeah.
Cutouts. If anyone would like to send me just random pieces of cardboard with Agatha on it, or WandaVision, you know what my PO box is.
Or if you're seeing on the back, so magazines, I have been having a look. So on the back of magazines, like Empire, I would say Total Film, but they're currently going under. But magazines like that, where they would have advertisements on the back. So Hannah currently has one of my old Empire magazines, which has WandaVision on the cover. And on the back, I'm pretty sure it's a WandaVision promo. So keep an eye out for any Agatha All Along promos on back of magazines and stuff.
Or steal them from buses. Don't steal, children, but do. I'm not advocating for stealing. I'm not.
If you're going to steal magazines, do it from someone like W.H.
No,
Smith.
yeah, don't steal magazines. I mean steal, like, promo posters.
Okay.
I am not advocating for stealing for stuff that's not technically free in the wild.
Okay, so I've done that twice myself. I have 2 massive 6-foot posters from the side of like billboards and stuff. One is War for the Planet of the Apes, and the other one's the Guadagnino Suspiria. I've got the massive 6-foot things. They're in my bedroom. I would
do that, and I would put it on the ceiling.
Yeah.
When the Eras tour was in town, I went around and tried to steal an Eras tour poster, but they literally did not put any up.
Because of this reason.
Well, it's crazy because they had so many for Harry, Love on Tour, and Beyonce, which were both sold out, but not a single Eras tour poster for stealage. And when I tried to get the Eras tour cut out I asked them to put me in for the raffle like 800 times. They never got back to me. Never.
So basically, kids, if you go to bus stops, if you go anywhere, like, we don't advocate stealing.
No, but we are not advocating stealing from bus stops, not from shops.
Yeah. And if you got any insider tips on like where to find any merch or anything like this, any promo stuff, like shops and stuff to contact, let us know. That would be really, really good.
You would love you forever, babes. Back to the episodes. If this was not something off with it, I didn't love the pacing, but I literally don't want to judge this episode until I know more. I didn't like the way this trial went. If that was the trial, I will need it explained to me. Yeah. But I just feel like we're missing something.
Yeah, I mean, the 80s horror genre conventions that we got in this episode, for me personally speaking, is the comparable episode to the 90s episode of WandaVision, where we end up having the Malcolm in the Middle kind of episode. This is my episode of what Agatha All Along that I've been really looking forward to ever since I've seen the promos. And I can say I'm a little bit disappointed there was not more of the tropes kind of playing in, and more of the costuming was great. The design of the cabin and the inside was great. The fact that it was a Ouija board was great. The practical effects, the contortion, was all great. It was just, I don't know, it just felt lacking.
Well, it was the shortest episode for such a ginormous reveal. Yeah. Felt off.
It did. It just felt like, we just skipped to the end. Like, it just, that was very much the vibe they were giving off. They were just like, they were almost too excited to get to the reveal.
I do see, the reason I think we're going back to this cabin, right, is there's a shot of Alice in one of the promos on the floor, and all the papers were on the floor in that. There's a shot of her in her regular clothing, and I wonder if she's going to wake up.
As a spirit, maybe?
As a spirit. And I wonder if Lily has been talking to the spirits the whole time.
Yeah.
You know, when she's like, am I wispy or am I kooky?
Yeah.
We still don't know who she's talking to. This is why I just really wish we were getting kind of a backstory episode for each witch. Like, I would have loved to see Alice in her regular life for a little while. What was her life like with the curse? Like, what are their day-to-day lives like?
We want what have all these people been doing off of the island before they got to the island?
Yeah.
We want the lost version of Agatha All Along, where we find out what all their backstory is before they get to the island.
12 episodes, baby.
Yeah.
For each trial, we should be seeing kind of what brought them to this place. We would have understood more why Jen would hate, why it was her worst fear to become this like vapid kind of like, yuppie kind of girl. If we saw kind of what her life was like. I really do hope we're going to find out how her powers were bound.
Can we... I feel like we're getting into a trap a little bit of just talking a little bit too much about what we think the episode could have done better, what we kind of wish. What do we think the episode did right? Can we kind of swing this a little bit?
I love revealing Teen this early in the season.
Okay.
I love the Billy reveal this early on.
Yeah.
Because I love that we didn't have to earn that like pulling teeth. Because I think that it's much more impactful if him and Agatha are all going to have a rivalry going forward. If it's a true sequel to WandaVision, if we're going to bring in... Agatha's been beefing... All these tweets about Agatha's been beefing with Billy since the day he was born. She's been kicking him and like throwing him on the floor.
Yeah.
I think that... Also, I like the continuation of the Rio-Agatha dynamic through this episode. Rio defending her against... And obviously her having had this long history where she knows... Also, the Salem 7 still having significance to Agatha. I think those are all very good. Catherine Hahn's acting. She is just absolutely killing it every single episode. The switches from Agatha being vulnerable to Agatha being, like, very cold, especially in that last scene where she looked so ashamed. She was so dejected. She came out and she tried to tell Billy... And then he rejects her and she goes immediately into like protection mode. She's snarling. She's a Wicked Witch. She literally is acting like the Wicked Witch from Wizard of Oz. We've had so many Wizard of Oz references, and it kind of is it's a whole Wizard of Oz kind of play on, really. They're skipping down the yellow brick road to try and get their heart's desires. I just hope that the wizard is real at the end.
And not played by James Franco. I had to get that in there. It was
I like that movie. I'm like the only person that stands.
Oz the Great and Powerful.
Yeah, I like that movie. I would have watched the sequel.
Honestly, there's no reason why that movie shouldn't have got a sequel. It made like $1 billion.
I think it was the James Franco scandal.
It was the James Franco thing. Anyway.
But anyway, moving forward, yeah, I am loving the show. Like, it has me hooked every single time the episode finishes. I'm like, why can't it be next week already? Yeah. I'm literally so like ravenous for the next episode. And I just feel like it is a worthy successor to WandaVision in terms of, you know, the set design. It's such like a joy to watch on television for me. Yeah, this is the show that I'm looking forward to rewatching. The thing is with Marvel shows that I don't think I've rewatched. I think I might have rewatched Loki and WandaVision. I think the only two ones I've actually sat and rewatched, because there's a lot more going on, like in the background. There's a lot of finer details. Some of the other shows, just like it's very much a. I watched Moon Knight a lot of times. One and done. Moon Knight, yeah, that's a good shout. Something that's rewatch, but like it just, nothing's driving me to go see Moon Knight. Nothing's driving me to go see Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Secret Invasion, which I didn't finish. Ms. Marvel, like, nothing's driving me to rewatch these shows because of things I might have missed or things that are leading up to things and are payoffs. You know what is the hints that are being put into these episodes that are showing what else is to come, and that is something I felt that was there for WandaVision, something I felt was there with Loki. You know, there's always little kind of things going on that kind of hint out to what's coming later, and it's only really then that you rewatch the show that you're like, oh, actually all the pieces are really there to begin with. You just wouldn't know, you didn't know you were looking for it. You know, that's
that's kind of how I feel this show is going to play out. It's going to be one of those shows where it's like, I'm going to rewatch it. It's going to become actually that a little bit more better.
I've seen every episode except this one, but 3 times now. I've seen this one 2 times, and I've not been bored any time that I have rewatched. Not just, I don't think that's just because I'm a super fan. Like, I obviously have seen WandaVision a gazillion times.
Really?
Yeah. Sorry. But like Agatha All Along, I found it so rewatchable, especially because I love to sit and watch kind of the character performances being given while stuff is going on. Especially, I think I'm going to go back and watch Rio exclusively on my next watch, which will be with my roommate, because I watch it once on my own, once with you guys, and then once with her every week. I really can't wait to watch Rio this episode, just kind of tracking her performance.
I've mainly caught myself being like, I'm just going to watch what Aubrey Plaza does.
That's because you're a WoW Platinum stan. So to go back to the club.
That's not even the most insane line reading in that movie.
I like that line reading, though. It scratches my brain. But she's very watchable. And to be fair, I usually am drawn to Catherine Hahn because I want to see how Agatha is portraying herself in each scene. I think I'm going to end up, when we get to Lilia's episode, I think I'm then going to go back and watch the whole show. And I've seen people putting together Lilia's prophecies already on Twitter, like whether or not they've gone in order or not. I'm really interested I think it's going to be mind-blowing when we find out who Lilia's been talking to this whole time.
You got a theory?
I think, part of me says it might be Alice and Sharon. Like, people, or other people that have died on the road. Or, okay, here's the thing where he's going to roll his eyes.
Go on.
It's Wanda's mother. Because she appears on the road as the ghost that's guiding them in the comic.
Right.
And, this is Wanda's biological mother, not her, Sokovian. Wanda's always been adopted, so if she isn't adopted in the MCU, it's going to kind of be a bit weird if she's not adopted at all. I think...
It's a really crap adoption agency sticking them into Sokovia.
Well, it's never a great adoption. In the comics, they usually just get dropped somewhere. Yeah. The amount of times Wanda and Pietro have been passed around like a hot potato is pretty... I just think that this show is very much about, going with the Wizard of Oz theme, there's no place like home. And I think this is really, we're looking at dual protagonists here. People aren't going to like it because I know that Agatha is supposed to be the center, but we are centering Billy too. We started with them. It's their journey along the road together. And I think that what Agatha is looking for is acceptance and the idea that she can be good and can have a coven as well as power. And what Billy is looking for is his family, his true identity. So whether that be Tommy or this woman called Wanda, or his family roots. So maybe Natalia Maximoff.
Maybe.
I think it would be a very good way for them to get the connection. I know y'all are it's not about Wanda, but Marvel is about making money. So yes, it is about Wanda. I'm sorry, they didn't pick the characters exclusively related to Wanda, stick her son in the show, and use the setting from her comic because they didn't want us to think about Wanda. There's a reason she's doing all the promos, guys. It's because, also, if you're listening to this podcast, you're probably not mad that I care about Wanda. Probably not, but... So, final thoughts. Don't sigh so deeply.
I'm sighing deeply. The episode, I think, episode 4 was the better episode that we've had thus far. I think 5 is a little bit lacking, but I think that will be answered. There'll be reasons for that, which will then be answered in later episodes. I also think that, there's a lot more kind of going on than just, oh, they're dead, that's it.
Yes, I think that too. I think that less so with Sharon, but definitely with Alice. That storyline I don't think is finished. I don't think that's the end of Alice. My final thoughts are that I love the show. I think that the costume... I just want to shout out to the way the show is constructed, because there have been so many complaints over the years about Marvel's cheap use of CGI, and there is none of this here. This is a true... Everybody in this show deserves an award, the way the costuming is done, the way the lighting is done, the way the road has been built. And Jack Schaefer, I love you. I love you. And I can't wait to see what is coming next at all. I will be back with you next week and we will talk all things. Hopefully I might have a real news update for you. We just haven't had a lot of like solid news.
No, there's a rumor going around that Wanda will be the focus of the next few Marvel movies, especially the team up with her love interest being a certain RDJ Doom, which makes everyone's skin crawl. But I don't think that's true. So
I don't think so either. I saw someone say the other day that like 90% of the leaks that have been out are fake, but not.
You've seen the Spider-Man leaks that have been coming out?
I know that it'll have broken your heart. Well, Tom Holland's supposed to be announcing something today. So
but that's a charity thing.
Oh, is it a charity
thing?
thing?
He says that all the time, and everyone gets really excited because they think it's Spider-Man related. But 9 times out of 10, it's something to do with charity or golf, and I love it.
Well, yeah, it's what we deserve. Thank you so much for listening. This has been episode 10 of Into the Wonderverse. I'm Hannah, and you can find me over on TikTok at Into the Wonderverse or on Instagram at The Wonderverse.
And I'm producer Nick. You can find me on TikTok at The Film Nick, where I'm slowly turning into a Megalopolis Stan account. And you can find my writing, including writing on Marvel, on superatomovision.com.
And then our wonderful podcast art is by Lily, who we could not be more grateful to. Honestly, the best promo for the show that we could possibly have.
100%.
Music by Melody Ray Griffiths. And until then, stay magical.